video is all about careers learning and careers education, information, advice and guidance. We're going to explore the terms and look at what they mean, look at the Gatsby benchmarks and what they entail, with a specific emphasis on Gatsby benchmark 4, which is careers in the curriculum, and how we can go about this as academy staff and teachers. In part 2, we're going to be looking at the careers learning outcomes that we will adapt across the Trust. How are we preparing students for their future work and life? Almost half, that's 49%, of young people aged 17 to 23 believe that their education had not prepared them for the world of work. We really need to be preparing young people. Part of their education is not only academic achievement but character achievement and learning those skills that employers would look out for. So the National Career Strategy was brought out in 2017. It's about preparing young people for their future work and life, as we've already discussed. It's based on research and reports from previous years of practice and looking at what is good practice, what works and what doesn't. And there were various parties involved with exploring what good practice should look like. And what we mean by careers learning is basically careers education, information, advice and guidance. Careers education is about a planned and organised programme of activities, offering pupils learning opportunities to develop those skills that they need for their future. Information should be reliable, relevant and up to date, steering more away from biased information, and it's about young people knowing what their options are, understanding those options for themselves and applying it to their own situations. Helping the young people to interpret the information and the experiences that they've gained along the way, obviously giving them various advice about what the different pathways look like. Guidance is going in a bit deeper into this. It's about exploring the pupil's own unique story and looking at what influences their decisions and helping them to make informed decisions about their future. Careers guidance is about being impartial. So what do we mean by impartiality? We're talking about an independent and unbiased perspective on the options available. While we appreciate looking at what the benefits are of staying on in their current academies, but when it comes to careers guidance, it really needs to be independent and it needs to be impartial and based on what is more suitable for that individual. It considers their personality, their strengths, their interests and their aspirations, the preferred suitable pathway for that individual. What are the Gatsby benchmarks? One is a stable careers programme. It's about being robust and planned and not having an ad hoc, random kind of approach. Learning from labour market information. So this isn't just about jobs and what jobs are currently out there, it's also understanding different career pathways, salaries, the skills involved in those different jobs, what entry grades they may need for different study pathways. Addressing the needs of each pupil, so there are various elements to this, but it's basically making sure that the unique needs of pupils are met across the programme. Linking curriculum learning to careers. So this may be the main area where teachers can really get involved, and we will come on to this in a bit more detail later down the line on this presentation. Encounters with employers and employees. So this is obviously where working with business gets involved, and you can actually match some benchmarks together. So learning from labour market information might actually come from an encounter with an employer or an employee, coming into the school, or a visit to an employer organised by the academy, where the young person is learning about labour market information. You also link in benchmark 4 into that, because they're learning about how their subjects can lead them onto different careers. So you can actually combine more than one benchmark together. Experiences of workplaces is basically work experience, but for those academies that don't cover this, there are other ways around this and other things that you can do to make sure they're getting relevant, meaningful experiences. Encounters with higher education and further education colleges. Personal guidance. This is your careers guidance interviews, and they should be offered at key transition points. Again, we will move on to this in a few moments. Why are we looking at careers in the curriculum? Why is this important? So there's a dual purpose here. According to the Careers and Enterprise Company, well, firstly, we're providing careers education as part of the school's careers and enterprise provision. And secondly, it's to enhance the whole curriculum with the addition of career relevant context. So again, this is about preparing young people for their future, ensuring that they have the information and the skills necessary to make decisions and move into their future careers successfully. What is careers in the curriculum? What do we mean by this, and how can we go about it? There are different approaches. There are pros and cons to the approaches, but a good way to go about it is to have a combined approach across your careers programme. So it's a whole team approach, so it's not just down to the careers leader. It should have a clear aims, and these should be linked to intended learning outcomes that you want those pupils to learn from that activity. What impact should it have? We are aiming to have a specific kind of impact. It's not just doing it to tick a box, it's about this, what are the students learning from it. It's about having a cognitive impact, a behavioural impact, and a practical impact for their future, and applying the skills that they've learnt. Careers in the curriculum, what does it look like? How can we go about it? What are the approaches to it? Careers into each subject area. Cover it in PSHE lessons. There's quite a lot you can do here with PSHE, and you probably already have careers content in there. Separate careers lesson plans. So again, this could be part of PSHE or as a unique subject, a specific careers subject as a separate lesson, or as the first point says, embedding this into your subject area. You can provide educational trips to companies that are relevant to the subject that you're teaching. Employers can come into the academy and deliver various careers activities. Your higher education and further education visits counts, especially if they're putting on careers-based activities where the young people are learning about specific job roles or the skills necessary for those job roles. And of course tutor time activities, but we don't want to just rely on this alone. It's about having this combined approach where we're involving all these different aspects into our careers programmes. And of course we can always make use of Careers Week, Apprenticeship Week, and separate careers days as well. Linking curriculum learning to careers, different ways of doing this. So here's just a few ideas. You can develop presentations linking jobs to your subject areas. Classroom discussions, talking to students about those jobs that are linked to your specific subjects, or how subjects together, when studied together, can be combined to lead to a particular career, like physics and maths are quite often appropriate for engineering careers and computing careers, for example. What skills are needed, what entry requirements are needed as well. So explaining the different pathways possible into those jobs, including apprenticeships. And of course, visits to workplaces, as discussed earlier. We need to be recording each student's career learning individually. So that's about mapping what we're doing to a recognised framework like the Career Development Institute Careers Framework, which we will come on to in a moment. We have a separate video on to give you more information about that, but it's about looking at what each individual student is learning from their activities and also monitoring their progressions, where they're at the beginning of the year to where they might be at the end of that academic year, and noticing how they've progressed. By age 14, all students should have learned about STEM careers, making sure young people have the information about those subjects and those careers. Personal guidance, Gatsby Benchmark 8. So this needs to be offered at key transition points, especially a careers interview by age 16. So we're looking at obviously year 10 or 11 for those, and another offered by the time they're 18 if they're staying on for your sixth form. They have to have encounters with employers, and this needs to be a minimum of one per year group. Department for Work and Pensions, who often come in and do workshops, and it includes careers fairs, careers conventions. Thank you for listening. We do have a part 2 of this video which covers a bit more detail, and we look at what the careers learning outcomes are and what they consist of. If you do have any questions, you can check out the staff area of our Light Engagement Team website. Welcome to our staff development videos. My name's Ruth. I'm one of the Careers Learning Development Managers at the Lee Academies Trust. So this video is all about the careers learning outcomes that we want students to learn from our careers programs and activities. Learning outcomes you want that student to get from that lesson or from that series of lessons. It's about what are they learning, what impact is this activity and this careers program having on our students. So I'm going to talk through those now. I'm going to base this on the 10 simplified points rather than the 17 points that the Career Development Institute adhere to. But the 17 points that the Career Development Institute has is incorporated into the 10 learning points that we are going to adapt at the Trust. The first one is self-awareness. Ability to form an honest self-appraisal, interests, attitudes, their future aspirations. Secondly, we want to look at personal autonomy. Personal autonomy is about managing yourself as an individual, staying motivated, knowing what motivates you, having a growth mindset, being able to reflect, being able to grow, being able to identify how you need to grow as a person as well as in their academic studies. Exploring careers and work. Looking at the different industries, the different job sectors and the different roles within those sectors that they might be able to go into in the future. Learning about those roles, learning about what a good day would look like in that role, what a bad day might look like in that role, what qualifications are needed to do that role. Is a degree needed? Can I do it with an apprenticeship? It's also about knowing the purpose of work and being able to locate work, knowing how to find suitable and meaningful work and where that fits into that person's individual life. Investigating labour market information. A lot of people seem to think labour market information is just about job vacancies. It's a whole lot more than that. Developing on from point number 3, where they're learning about careers and work and the world of work, they are learning about that they're deepening that knowledge by looking at actual labour market information. And it's also knowing about reliable information, knowing the difference between biased information and independent information. And if something is biased, balance that up against something else, having the full range of information available, knowing about the different pathways available to them. This is point number 5, or skill number 5. Being inclusive and collaborative. It's about working with others, but it's also understanding and appreciating the differences between people, valuing the differences, understanding that people have different backgrounds, different interests. People have different races, they have different religions. Number 6, understanding health and safety. So this is about looking at safe practices in the workplace. It's also about well-being. Mental health well-being can come into this. So if you do anything on your PSHE around this, or even in your subjects around this, teaching them about how to stay safe, how to keep others safe, what's your responsibility, even work experience. You know, there are certain rules you've got to abide by. Those rules are there to keep you and others safe. Number 7, enterprise and experience. So this includes your work experience, your experiences of workplaces, Gatsby number 5 and Gatsby number 6. Utilising those opportunities, networking, locating those opportunities, going about finding work experience for themselves, doing voluntary work maybe. It's about getting involved, knowing how to reflect on experiences as well to gain more information about different pathways and different jobs and the world of work in general. Number 8, managing finances, being able to manage a personal budget. They need to understand about this because they need to understand about salaries and what kind of income is needed for independent living for when they're older. They need to understand about finances when it comes to higher education. They need to understand finances if they're going to go into an apprenticeship. They need to know about what grants and what funding is available. So it's all about managing your personal budget and contributing to a household budget. Eventually they're going to be doing this later down the line, so it's about teaching them how to go about this. Number 9, decide, plan and prepare. This is about making decisions, so identifying options and making decisions based on those options, exploring the pros and cons of different options, different pathways available, planning ahead, making a plan in terms of I'm going to go to an open evening, I'm going to talk to my teacher in sixth form about what it's like to do geography A-level or what it's like to do media studies at A-level. I'm going to go to sixth form and do A-levels, or I'm going to do an apprenticeship, or I'm going to have a backup plan in case things go wrong. This also includes preparing in terms of understanding CVs and how to write one, understanding interview skills and understanding application processes. That will include applying to UCAS and how to go about that. Number 10 is adapting. A key area of careers, education and guidance. Managing transitions. It's about showing resilience, learning how to handle yourself in new opportunities, new situations where you don't know anyone and the place is new and you don't know your way around, or even when you're in your same academy, say if you're going from year 11 to sixth form, that is a transition. And you're already preparing them for that as teachers. You're already talking to them about when you're in sixth form, it's going to be like this, or you'll have to be more proactive, or you'll have to be ahead of the game. So we're doing this all the time when we're working with students. We're preparing them for their future. We're helping them to be resilient. We're helping them to manage new situations. So number 10 is all about that, managing that new situation and preparing for it. With these learning outcomes, you can now map some of these learning outcomes to your lessons. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've tried to keep it as short as possible, but there's a lot to get through. This is why I've shortened them to 10 points instead of 17.